Their fathers built an empire of terror. What did their children inherit? What truly happened to the children of Nazi leaders after World War II? They carried the bloodline of those who brought terror to the world. Yet, as adults, they lived under their parents' immense shadow, individuals once wielding brutal power, then cursed by all of humanity. Could these children escape their past? Or would their parents' bloody legacy haunt them forever? On this journey, we'll uncover the tragic, sometimes shocking fates of their offspring. Some chose to idolize their fathers, ignoring all their crimes. Others publicly condemned them, dedicating their lives to accusation. Some sought to flee the past, living quiet, private lives. And others fell into new infamy, their lives becoming even more tragic. This isn't just about individuals bound by destiny. It's also a reminder that history's atrocities never truly vanish. They always leave their mark on future generations. Join us on this mysterious journey to see how the children of Nazi leaders lived after the empire fell. Gudrun Himmler, born August 8, 1929, was the sole child of Heinrich Himmler, a principal architect of the Holocaust. Despite her lineage, tied to a man responsible for history's worst atrocities, Gudrun remained fiercely loyal to her father until her death in 2018. Himmler doted on his daughter, arranging for her to fly to Berlin from Munich, where she lived with her mother. He maintained close contact, calling daily and sending weekly letters. He'd affectionately call her by her childhood nickname, Poppy. Gudrun even accompanied her father to some official events, witnessing his power firsthand. Despite the truth of her father's death, she refuted the common theory that Himmler took his own life using cyanide, and insisted he was assassinated. After the war, Gudrun and her mother were captured by US forces, held in various camps across Italy, France, and Germany. They were summoned to Nuremberg to testify at war crimes trials, and later released in November 1946. Back in civilian life, Gudrun Himmler didn't abandon her father's legacy. She became an integral part of Stillhilfe, or Silent Aid, a secret organization aiding former SS members who were arrested, convicted, or on the run. This involvement showcased her unwavering devotion to her father's image and memory. Gudrun Himmler is a stark example that the legacy of a perpetrator can shape their children's lives in unimaginable ways. While the world condemned her father, Gudrun tirelessly defended, honored, and upheld Himmler's image, proving nothing could truly sever her from that bloodline. Martin Bormann Jr., the eldest son of Nazi official Martin Bormann, was born April 14, 1930. His childhood was shrouded by his father's heavy shadow, a key figure in Hitler's inner circle. Despite growing up amidst wealth and power, he was shielded from the regime's brutal realities. When the war ended, Bormann Jr. sought to distance himself from his father's actions, stating he didn't know about them and would have turned him in if he had. He sought spiritual atonement. He converted to Catholicism and dedicated his life to the church, even working in missionary schools in Congo and Cameroon, trying to atone for his father's sins. However, in 2011, Bormann Jr. became the center of abuse allegations. A former student claimed Bormann had abused him at age 12 in the early 1960s. Furthermore, there were claims of severe physical abuse towards other students. At the time the accusations surfaced, Bormann Jr. was battling dementia, rendering him unable or unwilling to respond to the allegations. Although no legal action resulted, an independent commission investigating abuse within the Austrian Catholic Church awarded compensation to victims. Martin Bormann Jr.'s life demonstrates that the bloodline of crime cannot be erased. And sometimes, attempts at atonement can still be ensnared by the past's ghosts. While some children of Nazi leaders sought obscurity or publicly denounced their fathers, Bormann Jr. chose a spiritual path, but ultimately couldn't escape personal tragedy. Niklas Frank, son of notorious war criminal Hans Frank, was born in 1939. As a child, he was too young to grasp his father's Holocaust crimes. But as an adult, Niklas dedicated much of his life to confronting and publicly condemning his father's dark legacy. Hans Frank, known as the Butcher of Poland, was Hitler's personal lawyer and later governor of occupied Poland. His atrocities left an indelible stain on history. But Niklas Frank didn't choose silence. Instead, he took an extraordinary path, directly confronting his family's legacy. Niklas authored several books, including In the Shadow of the Butcher, detailing his efforts to understand and openly critique his father. He also committed to educating the public about the Holocaust and its lasting impact on families, including perpetrators and victims alike. Niklas's public talks offer a unique perspective, highlighting how cruelty can ripple through generations if unaddressed and condemned. Niklas Frank's life is proof that confronting parental guilt is not just a personal burden but an educational and cautionary journey for the world. He didn't just bear his father's horrific shadow, he transformed that obsession into a force for historical lessons. Edda Göring was the only child of Hermann Göring and his second wife, Emmy Sonnemann, an actress. Born just before the outbreak of World War II, Edda's early years were marked by luxury and power. Enjoying a lavish lifestyle tied to her father's prominent position, Edda often appeared in public photographs, becoming a symbol the Nazi regime wished to project, a picture of a happy, ideal family amidst her parents' brutal crimes. She received numerous valuable artworks as a child, including Lucas Cranach the Elder's Madonna and Child. When the war concluded, Edda and her mother moved to her mother's villa in the Bavarian Alps near Berchtesgaden. Following Hermann Göring's sentencing and suicide at the Nuremberg trials, Edda inherited family assets. In the post-war years, Edda sought a reclusive life, rarely mentioning her parents publicly. However, in private conversations, she consistently defended her father, asserting he was a good man. The valuable childhood gifts, including the Madonna and Child painting, became the focus of protracted legal battles in the 1950s and 1960s. She lost most of these cases by 1968. But in a 1986 Swedish television interview, she opened up for the first time, expressing her deep affection for both her father and mother. Edda Göring passed away in 2018, her life forever overshadowed by her infamous father. Her story is a stark reminder that even when we try to escape, family's dark past still haunts its children, shaping their entire lives, reputations, and public perception. Rolf Mengele, son of notorious Dr. Joseph Mengele, was born March 16, 1944. Rolf's life was cast in the shadow of his father, who performed horrific experiments at Auschwitz. Rolf grew up far from the camps, initially told his father was a war hero, until he learned the truth as a teenager. Despite bearing a notorious surname, Rolf strove for a normal life, studying law to become a corporate lawyer. After the war, Joseph Mengele fled to South America, leaving Rolf in Germany. His father's absence made Rolf a target for Nazi hunters, as he was suspected of staying in touch. In reality, Mengele did send a few letters to his son, sparking Rolf's curiosity and leading to a trip to South America in 1977. During this meeting, Rolf realized his father showed no remorse for his atrocities at Auschwitz, even attempting to justify them. Though disgusted, Rolf couldn't report his father to the authorities, keeping the whereabouts of the Angel of Death secret. This allowed Joseph Mengele to evade justice for his many crimes. Following this fateful encounter, Rolf chose to sever ties with his past, changing his name for a fresh start. It's believed he became a lawyer, living quietly with his family in Germany, closing a dark chapter for the family under a veneer of normalcy. Rolf Mengele's story highlights the complex legacy of atrocity, where a child must confront a brutal past while seeking a normal life in history's shadow. Wolf Hess was the son of Rudolf Hess, a prominent Nazi figure and Hitler's deputy until 1941. Hess famously undertook a solo flight to Scotland. His aim was to negotiate peace with Britain, hoping to end the war in the West so Germany could focus on the USSR. However, the plan quickly failed, and Hess was captured by British forces upon landing. After the war, Hess was tried at Nuremberg and sentenced to life imprisonment, dying in Spandau prison in 1987, aged 93. Unlike many children of Nazis, Wolf Hess didn't distance himself from his father's legacy, but dedicated his life to defending and justifying him. He staunchly maintained his father was no war criminal, but merely a man following orders in the 1930s and 40s, thus absolving him of guilt. During his teenage years, while his father was imprisoned, Wolf visited him often and kept in touch. But his work didn't stop there. In the 1950s, Wolf founded the Committee for the Release of Rudolf Hess, attracting hundreds of thousands of supporters, including prominent German politicians. He also penned numerous books to portray his father as a national hero, not a criminal. After Rudolf Hess's death in prison, Wolf continued to claim his father's death was a conspiracy by British prison guards. Wolf Hess spent his life defending his father's honor and legacy, a clear testament that some children of Nazi leaders would not just live in their father's shadow, but actively try to rewrite history. Albert Speer Jr. was born July 29, 1934, in Berlin, son of Albert Speer, Hitler's chief architect and Minister of Armaments for the Third Reich. As a child, Speer Jr. lived with his family in Berlin, later moving to a villa near Berchtesgaden, Hitler's retreat. Home movies from the 1930s show young Albert playing on the terrace while the Führer looked on. When the Reich fell, his father was tried at Nuremberg and sentenced to 20 years for prolonging the war through forced labor. Unlike many colleagues, Speer Sr. was one of the few Nazi leaders to admit his guilt. While his father was imprisoned, the Speer family relocated to Heidelberg, where Speer Jr.'s childhood was marked by ostracism and suspicion. He suffered from a severe stutter but overcame it. Initially training as a carpenter, Speer Jr. later chose architecture, a path he always insisted was his own, not driven by his father's imposing legacy. In 1964, he founded his own firm, Albert Speer Partner in Frankfurt. From there, Speer Jr. became an internationally renowned architect and urban planner, with projects spanning Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Yet, Speer Jr. never fully escaped history's heavy shadow. In an interview, he admitted that in his childhood memories, Hitler was just a kindly uncle, until he grew up and faced the horrific truth of Nazi atrocities. On September 15, 2017, Albert Speer Jr. passed away in Frankfurt at age 83. He is remembered as one of the few children of Nazi leaders who chose a different path, neither denying nor defending, but quietly building his own career on his own talent. He is remembered as one of the few children of Nazi leaders who chose a different path,